In this video, I'll be breaking down all the nitty-gritty concerning Upwork service fees for freelancers on the platform and if it is truly profitable and sustainable. So get ready to transform your freelancing experience as we decode Upwork's freelancer service fee to help you maximize your earnings. Martins here. Let's start by understanding the heart of Upwork's financial structure, the infamous 10% freelancer service fee. It's easy to feel disheartened, but wait till you hear that until a few months ago, Upwork was charging 20% of all earnings on contracts worth $500 and below. Yes, that's right. The platform recently switched to a 10% flat fee structure, and while many freelancers saw this as a welcome idea, many more, especially those who have long-term clients with earnings of over $10,000 on their contract, saw it as Upwork taking away a part of their years of hard work to reach the 5% threshold. Let me break it down a bit. Under the old structure, freelancers pay the commission under a tiered structure based on their relationship with the client. They pay 20% for the first $500 with a single client, and then 10% for the total billings between $500 and $10,000, and 5% for the billings that exceed $10,000 until May 2023, when they updated to the 10% flat billing structure. If you are still confused, don't worry, I'm here to enlighten you on how you can still earn what you deserve while contributing to the Upwork ecosystem. In the new structure, imagine you complete the project and receive a payment of $500. Your freelancer service fees, which is 10%, will amount to $50. After paying the fee, your earnings stands at $450. This is the same on hourly projects too. Suppose your hourly pay is $20 per hour. 10% of that rounds down to $2 per hour. If you bill 12 hours, your clients will be charged $240. The 10% fee becomes $24, and your net earnings will be $216. It is vital to get this analysis to avoid surprises in your earnings. Now that you get the basics, let's dive into the exceptional cases and how you can leverage them to your advantage. One of the exceptions to this rule, at least until the end of the year, is legacy contracts. Remember when I said some freelancers were not happy with the 10% flat fee structure? Well, these are freelancers who have long-term clients with high earnings with a particular client. Suppose you already had a reduced freelancer service fee of 5% or earnings of over $10,000 on an eligible contract before the change to 10% fees. The good news is that you will continue to pay only 5% on that contract through to the end of 2023. The second exception to this rule is the Upwork Payroll and any hire contracts. Upwork Payroll Service is Upwork's trusted third-party staffing agency that handles payments to employees of a client or business. When hiring a freelancer, for example, you can decide if the relationship is classified as an employee rather than an independent contractor. In such cases, the freelancer will become an employee of a staffing vendor and be assigned to the client for the purpose of the project. A client may ask you to work for them as an employee instead of an independent contractor for a variety of reasons, including the need for a set working schedule and a long-term relationship. As with other clients you work with on Upwork, you will agree upon the rate before the contract starts, and you will still communicate directly with your clients on project-related matters. How do Upwork Payroll contracts differ from other Upwork contracts? On Upwork Payroll, all contracts are hourly. With Upwork Payroll contract, you will log your time with the staffing agency instead of the Upwork desktop app. Your contract will be marked as paused in Upwork to prevent duplicate reporting of hours and payments. This will not affect your job success score. Your earnings from Upwork Payroll contract will reflect in your Upwork profile. However, the number of hours worked will not. Generally, staffing vendors in the US provide workers' compensation insurance, health insurance, and an overtime payment agreement. If you are based outside the US, you will enjoy the same legal rights as any other employee in the country. Now back to the earnings aspect. If you participate in Upwork Payroll, rejoice because you are exempt from Upwork freelancer service fees as you are paid through a third-party staffing firm. The next exemption to the flat fee structure is the direct contract. One of the things I love about Upwork is that even if you didn't find a project through the platform, you can still use Upwork to manage contracts and get paid. With direct contracts, you can create and send contract proposals to your clients who aren't even on Upwork. Just like your other contracts on Upwork, you can have a fixed price for hourly contracts, and your client will deposit project funds in escrow before the contract starts. When you've completed work on a fixed price contract, you will request payments, and Upwork will release fixed price funds to you after the client accepts your request. For this type of bidding, the 5-day waiting period is eradicated and you get paid instantly. For hours you work on an hourly contract, Upwork will bill the client weekly on Mondays and release the funds to you on Fridays after your client has had the chance to review your hours. If you have a direct contract with the client who pays you through Upwork, you will pay the direct contract processing fee of 3.4%. But the good news is that you won't incur the standard 10% freelancer service fee. The next exemption to the flat fee structure is the enterprise client advantage. Working with our enterprise clients opens up new possibilities. While most enterprise contracts have a 10% freelancer service fee, there's a hidden gem of an exemption you won't want to miss. Through to the end of 2023, if you switch your marketplace contract, which is at 5% service fee, to an enterprise contract, you can continue to enjoy the 5% freelancer service fee. Another way Upwork charges freelancers is through the Upwork tax system. As a freelancer or a business owner on Upwork, one of the most essential topics that might impact your earnings and purchase is taxes. Understanding how they work is crucial. So let's demystify the world of taxes on Upwork. Countries and jurisdictions where freelancers live or conduct business will levy taxes on your Upwork income or purchases. These taxes can fall into two categories: income tax, which is the tax on the income you make as a freelancer, and taxes on services. When you purchase services from Upwork, like Connect, you must encounter various taxes such as sales tax, value-added tax, goods and services tax, digital service tax, or other names depending on your country. As a responsible platform, Upwork is required to comply with tax laws of the countries where they operate. This means collecting taxes and remitting them to the respective tax authorities. Tax rates vary from country to country, with some countries paying as much as 15%. In Nigeria, the tax rate is 7.5% of the cost of the service being taxed. For example, if you pay $100 in freelancer service fees, you will pay $7.50 in tax, for a total cost of $107.50. While in the US, it goes as high as 15%. If you have watched till this moment, then congratulations, because you are now armed with the knowledge to conquer Upwork's freelancer service fees. But the journey doesn't end here. To thrive, you must master the art of bidding, understanding client preference, and crafting winning proposals. I shared a few tips on that in the video above, so you can head over there to watch it. There you have it, the comprehensive guide to decoding Upwork's freelancer service fees. And with this knowledge, you are now equipped to navigate the platform with confidence and maximize your earnings. I'll be making a video about the fees on the client side, so watch out if you are a client wondering what the charges are to hire on Upwork. If you found this video helpful, remember to give it a thumbs up and share it with your fellow freelancers. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more valuable content. Until next time, happy freelancing and may your earnings soar to new heights.